anyway, listen, talking about cars, I mean, we haven't
Yeah.
spoken about electric cars or alternative energy cars for a while. And I saw two things come through during the week which caught my eye. One was that there's this Hong Kong company called Desten that has just developed a EV battery that's, let me get the stats here. The battery offers 500 kilometers of what they call WLTP, which is the Worldwide Harmonized Light Vehicle Test Procedure range. And it can charge from 0 to 80% in 4.5 minutes. Right? And I mean, that's a game changer.
Some massive bloody socket plug.
Well, I don't. Well, my two issues with electric vehicles using battery. Well, yeah, electric vehicles using batteries is obviously the range, the time that it takes you to charge it, and how often do you have to replace those batteries. Those are the three things that I'm looking at and going, okay, I see problems here. So, so I suppose it's important to say that this thing can do 500 kilometers. Yeah. Right. And the fact that you can charge it 0 to 80% in 4.5 minutes. Okay. So in comparison, the Tesla's V3 supercharged offers what they call 1,610 kilometers per hour, whereas this one does 8,253 kilometers per hour. That's like distance as opposed to what? Why are you laughing?
Sorry, what was that number? 1,000 what?
Wait, so they stated like this. They say Tesla's V3 superchargers offer about 1,610 kilometers per hour, operating at 250 kilowatts. Okay, the same situation for the Desten charger gives you 8,253 kilometers per hour at 250 kilowatts. So it's the distance at 250 watts.
Oh, by the way, you should give
a
thumbs up for those who are still muted.
Oh, yeah, thumbs up. Spoiler alert, finished. I hope they got the subtitles on as well. So I mean, well, all of a sudden there seems to be a development in sort of the battery technology, and they say the biggest problem with charging these batteries would be heat, and these guys have apparently eliminated that issue. And this is the part.
They're in Hong Kong, so it's pretty warm down there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the other thing that I always worry about is like how often are you going to have to replace those batteries? Okay?
Yeah.
Because that's
do they really know?
Operating cost.
Because it's so new?
They do. No, they do. They say for each 19 amp hour cell is rated for more than 3,000 charge discharge cycles, which is about 1.5 million kilometers on that electric vehicle. So I mean that's pretty significant. Eh?
I mean, okay. So the reason I asked that is because in my world, in the data center world, where we have a lot of UPS infrastructure, a lot of batteries, and we want to know what sort of load it's going to be able to take, because it does degrade over the life of a battery. So I want to know how long the life of the battery is, how much it can retain, failure rates, and that kind of thing.
Sure.
And if they're saying, oh yeah, it'll handle whatever megawatt in this configuration for the next 10 years with a degrade of whatever it is, fine. But how do you know? This is the battery world is evolving.
Yeah.
And because they need to retain more charge.
But do they have a way? Do they have a way to test it and extrapolate?
And they never really give me a straight answer.
Oh, I see.
But I think it's easy for them to project, because these guys are working with batteries for many years. This is not just starting out. They understand the technologies. They don't 100% know, but they've got a good way of projecting it, because they do stress test things and see how it is. But that's in a stable environment with a stable air conditioning, safe environment. Now you're going to put the same technologies perhaps in an object that gets banged around, bounced around,
hot, cold,
different temperatures, fluctuations,
water,
dust, So how do they simulate all of that? That would
Mm.
for me be intriguing. I mean, on paper it sounds great.
Yeah. Well, at least,
And is Tesla going to buy them up and change the world?
yeah. 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 By the battery factory, yeah. So, and then the other thing is the hydrogen fuel cell aspect of renewable energy vehicles. Um, so I see Toyota have got a model has broken the world record or set the world record of doing 845 miles without refueling in a hydrogen fuel cell car. That's pretty good.
For a car, yes.
Yeah. So
I mean, I actually I've always been intrigued by the hydrogen fuel cell option for as an alternative to the traditional fuels, and and it became more prevalent. The London buses changed. Some of
yeah.
them went electric, but initially a lot of the new buses went hydrogen route.
Oh,
And you see
right.
this bus drive the road, and it's just pouring water out the back.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh my, is this a good idea? It's all over the road. I mean, but
Yeah.
actually, it's just water, guys. Just calm
It's just
down.
water. Yeah.
But everyone's sitting there. I'm sitting on a hydrogen bomb here.
Yeah. Yeah.
This fails.
Yeah.
It fails.
Did they not see the Sputnik or the what was it, the Hindenburg? Did they not see the movie? Hey? Did they not see the movie?
but but if you think that's now been around 15 years, and
That's true.
I I'm not aware of any accidents. They seem to have got the technology right,
Yeah.
and it's a very clean system.
Yeah, sure. Like I think we spoke about this before. Like one of the biggest problems with the whole hydrogen thing is the transportation of hydrogen, and that
Yeah.
there's this company that's come up with this new concept that what they do is they freeze it, they make it
Mm.
so they solidify it, and then transport it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, anyway, so it seems like there are some sort of positive developments in the electric
I,
vehicle
I
and hydrogen.
I mean, I said it 2 years ago. I said we're going to see a lot of technology changes because there's such demand and there's such a lot of money in this,
Yeah,
uh, and it's a global thing. So we're going
mm,
to. This is the start, mate. We're going to
yeah.
see a lot.
And I think also like with government starting to put pressure on, like in the UK, you were saying that what in 2030 or whatever they're not allowed to do diesel engines and they're not allowed to have internal combustion engines and all that kind of stuff. I mean, with that
Yeah.
kind of pressure coming, that does expedite the sort of move towards those kind of things. Yeah. I
Yeah,
just don't know
and
how
as
they're
much
gonna.
as it's just UK,
Yeah,
it's not just UK. I mean, Netherlands did this for Amsterdam area. Is all electric cars, pretty much. Otherwise, you pay heavy car taxes,
oh
from what
really?
I can gather. But that's been
Mm.
around for a while because they would, and a lot. This is going to happen in a lot of congested cities where they're trying to get rid of a carbon dioxide problem.
Sure.
London was the same, and it's going to spread. So I'm seeing this across Europe,
Mm.
many places. As much as there's a lot of countries that have a history of car enthusiasts and massive engines and power.
Yeah.
Um,
So
it's there's a massive demand. So it's not just one country driving the manufacturers to make a plan. It's going to be a global demand.
mm.
Yeah.
so I
And
mean,
I saw an electric Land Rover Defender the other day,
oh really?
and I tried to look into this. Yeah, this only got a short battery life.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'd still buy one if I had to. I do like them. Well, I like the
What do you
Defenders.
mean if you had to? If you
Well,
could? If you could?
if
Like I
yeah,
mean, how much? Because I mean, that's obviously a conversion.
yes,
How much do you think that thing would cost? Any idea?
more than I have. Oh, because it's just a basic little Defender now is probably twice the price of my Audi A4,
Yeah.
and that's before modifications.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
And the thing is that, like any Defender you buy now is, you're talking about old shape Defender, right? Not new shape
yeah.
Defender.
Well, the new shape is
which
I
also
mean,
appeared in Jamesy Bondi,
yeah,
and they
and
put
they
it up
smashed.
against the Toyota Prado, and the Prado won.
Well, the Prada did end up in the forest, right?
But he parked it there. He didn't. He didn't get. If you know what I mean. He decided
No
where to
spoiler
park it.
alerts. No spoiler alerts. Um, yeah, I
uh,
mean, they did smash a lot of them. I was thinking
yes.
when looking at this, going, this is clearly made before all the material shortages that the car industry is now facing. There's people watching that going, I ordered one of those 2 years ago and I'm still waiting. And here they
Yeah,
go
and yeah,
smashing them up.
exactly, exactly. Oh, that's crazy. But I mean, on a side note, something that you just reminded me of talking about carbon dioxide or carbon poisoning in like cities because of combustion engines. Like, I mean, people don't really think about that. You know, like you're driving your car and you think, oh, it's bad for the environment, but they're not really thinking about, okay, what are the actual, like, what's the implication on your health? Living in a city that's got large amounts of carbon, carbon, industrial, internal combustion engines. So it takes me back to when I was still studying at Tech. You remember the Durbanfontein campus
Yes.
where Ponty was? There
Yeah.
was a an intersection there, like a robot.
Aren't you not there?
No, it's still there. I'm just putting it in perspective.
Okay.
Um, there's a on the corner of the campus is a intersection which has got the traffic lights and all that kind of stuff, and we did a practical, chemical practical, analytical chemistry with ICP, where we went to we found a creeper plant creeper that grew at that intersection, and then we
Yeah.
also found the same creeper growing in another part of the campus, like where the staff used to park, which is like in the
Okay.
middle of the
So
campus.
it's very
Yeah,
much a different contamination area,
yeah.
right?
So we took samples from each area, and then what we did is we wiped the leaves with filter paper,
Mm,
and then we dissolved that in hydrochloric acid and all that kind of stuff, and then we analyzed it.
sure.
Um, and that was back in the day when we still had leaded fuel, and we know what the effect lead has on the human body. I was shocked at the results. There was such a high concentration of lead on the leaves of the plants that were at that intersection in comparison to the ones that were in
But
the
the
middle of the
plant seemed
campus.
fine. Could
Oh,
take
the
it.
plants were fine, yeah.
They've adjusted.
Yeah. But the thing is that we are breathing in that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, there's as the cities grow, the population gets more and more dense. The traffic gets denser. With the UK weather system, I'll call it that politely. I mean, there's a
Politely.
lot of low cloud. There's often not a lot of wind, so this stuff just gets trapped. And
Mm.
there is um, the health authorities have picked up on a lot of side effects in children, breathing difficulties, increase in asthma rates, and they're putting this all down to the quality of the air, and that's one of the drivers to try and fix this whole situation. So
Mm.
it's no surprise.
Yeah.
Um, but I like my diesel car. I like my
I'm
diesel
I'm
car.
I'm assuming turbo diesel, nice torque as you put your foot down there on the country
Well,
roads.
years ago, the the UK government suggested that people should not buy petrol cars; they should buy
Yeah.
diesel
Diesel
cars because
cars.
they're cleaner, right? And now it's changed again. No, diesel's now the bad boy.
Crazy.
But even though the diesel engines now are engineered to be a lot more efficient, and therefore their exhaust
Emissions.
content
Mm.
is a lot better, despite
Is that
how.
before or after Volkswagen were caught with
Yeah, I
their
was just
pants
gonna say
down?
that. Despite all that, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, just.
I've got the two cars. There's a Honda CR-V, which is a 2.2 liter turbo diesel engine, and it was at that point the cleanest, most efficient designed diesel
Diesel.
engine in the world
Oh
for
wow.
a short.
Yeah.
And it's a massive thing. It's a bomb. And the engines you find, the diesel engines you now find in the CR-V range is now 1.8 or 1.6s, and I'm like, it's a 2-ton car. It's gonna, but it seems to do okay.
Okay.
So they've reduced the size of the engine to reduce
Yeah.
the outputs. Okay.
Yeah.
Then I've got an Audi A4, which is what, a two liter turbo diesel, much more fuel efficient, and it was made what, 6 years, 6 years later,
Okay.
something like
Yeah. Sure.
that. A different engine,
Mm.
fuel efficiency's there, even though it's a lighter car, so obviously it's going to be more fuel efficient than the 4x4. So yeah, I think it's now tarnished. As much as these engines have improved, the volume of cars is still the problem.
Yeah. Sure. Absolutely.
We are not going to get away from the volume, so we might as well change the type of fuels that we use.
But I wonder, like, what are they going to do in Africa with regard to this kind of thing? Because Africa is a very, very different place in terms of
Absolutely.
trying to get cleaner technology, vehicle technology
But I think
embedded.
so. I get my car tax. I know it's probably the same there. My road tax, car tax is different between my two cars. I mean, they're
Yes.
effectively both 2 liter turbo diesel engines,
Yeah.
but the one is super cheap and compared to the other one,
Okay.
it's like
And what do they
a
base it on? Are they basing it on the actual reported
the report,
emissions
the
from
fake news
the fake news from
Pittsburgh
the
factory. Yes.
yes. No, I was just wondering, yeah, because back in the day when I still had my Land Cruiser, which we're going back quite a few years now, so I think I sold it in 2013. Um, I think in comparison, just to give you a comparison, my license fee for that vehicle was close to R1,000 a year, in comparison to my um, normal vehicle, which was, I think I had an Opel Astra, that was 400 and something. And now my Ford Figo, I think I pay 380 or something. So yeah, even back then in those days, with those heavy diesel vehicles and whatever, they were already clapping me with higher license fees.
Okay,
Yeah.
so go back to your other question. How does it happen? How's all this going to affect Africa? And it'll be the same in America because you've got all these vast spaces. I think you'll probably see a more prevalence of electrical or hybrid cars in the cities.
Yeah.
But outside that, you're probably still going to see the traditional cars, but
Yeah.
they'll just become cleaner
Yeah.
or more efficient.
Yeah. Yeah.
You,
Because I mean,
because you can't put the infrastructure down to support these things unless hydrogen suddenly comes up with a massive, well, this is how we can do off-road vehicles.
yeah. Well, there has been talk about. Well, I mean, the Hummer. They've now changed the Hummer now, which used to be one of those big gas guzzlers. They're now bringing
On
out
electric.
a full electric version of a Hummer, and I think
I thought
that's
they'd
actually
stopped
quite a
manufacturing
significant.
them altogether. Does that mean they've started remanufacturing?
Well, I think they've designed a new Hummer.
Okay.
I don't know if it's been released yet, but it's going to be full electric, and I think that's a very important move or development, because there you're taking something that was traditionally a gas guzzler
Yeah.
and going in the total opposite direction, which I think is I mean, like from a marketing point of view or catching people's attention view, I think that is quite a significant thing. It's not like there was this gradual transition. You went from, this heavy gas guzzler to more fuel efficient to a hybrid version to a full electric version. You've gone from, being on one extreme to the other extreme, which I think is quite important, or quite significant rather. Yeah.
Yes. I was thinking of the military aspects. Every time you think Hummer, you think military. Well, I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
And so if you're in the military having to rely on your vehicles, you're gonna want something that's gonna work every time and is robust. And as much as the Toyota Mirai covered such a vast distance,
Yeah.
I mean that is not a small car, but at the same time, even with all this reassurance that yes, it's got lots of miles and you can go forever on these things and it'll just get better and better, and we'll change some of the bulletproof panels to be solar panels, some shit like that. Are you as a soldier going to go, you know what, I'm happy with this? If I'm in trouble, I know these things will get us out, and they're going to be super fast. They can get us out quickly. I can
Yeah.
run an what do they call them? ISDs? No. What do they call them?
I don't know.
The improvised
IEDs.
IEDs. Thank you.
Yes.
ISDs. I can
That
outrun an
thing.
IED. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll trip it and it'll blow up, but when I'm a mile up the road,
Yes.
it's that fast. This car. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued to see what happens with this Hummer.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Who's their target market?
Yeah. There must be.
Those things are a pain to parallel park, I'll tell you
Oh,
that.
jeez, dude. You just park on the pavement, man. What do you mean?